All right. Whose hair is jacked up and therefore needs a turban? Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah. Melanated! Welcome to my review / recap of 90 Day Fiancé, girl. Welcome to another episode of my recap / review of Love After Lockup. This is episode 2, A New Warden's in Town. Full disclosure, I wrote a guy in prison. First of all, he tricked me, okay? I met a guy on the street, New York City, Union Square, headphones in, minding my own business. He walked past me and was like, what's up? And I was like, hey, and I kept going. He literally ran up after me and we chopped it up. He told me his street name and I was like, I'm not with it. What's your real name? He told me his real name. We exchanged numbers and we started talking. I'm telling you, this guy was the best date I had ever had in my entire life. He took control. He did it. It was great. Come to find out as we get to know each other that he had been in and out of prison since he was in junior high. So I had already at that point was like emotionally invested in him because we'd been talking and he was so amazing to me. I never really knew what it felt like to have somebody actually like me, like really dig me, and he showed me that. All of a sudden one day, girl, he disappeared. Didn't know where he was. Like, didn't know why he wasn't answering my text. Didn't know where he was like, oh my God, he's like just ditched me or he's back in prison. I chalked it up to a loss. About 3 weeks after I stopped hearing from him, I went to my Facebook page and I checked my other box. You know, when you get messages on Facebook, there's an other box, or at least there used to be. I checked my other box just randomly and I had this message from somebody who was like, hey, you don't know me, but I'm a friend of X, Y, and Z. And he asked me to contact you and let you know that he got locked up again and here's his address. And it took me a long time to decide what I was going to do, but I really felt that I deserved, or he deserved, or we deserved some kind of closure and conversation about what was going on. And so I started to write him. At first he wouldn't tell me how long he was in prison. I thought like maybe he had just like broken parole and was probably going to get like a year. And I was like, okay, if it's like a year, like I can write you, like it'll be cool. But he wouldn't tell me because he had gotten another 5 years. And I was just like, nope. And let me tell you, I learned a lot about the prison system through him and through other people that I know had gone to prison, and I had written them in prison as well. And so I'm not automatically like these people are evil, like you shouldn't date them, you shouldn't talk to them. But I do think the circumstances around which they were put into prison and the lessons that they learned when they come out of prison and things, their growth and all the kinds of stuff that happens, you know, within prison, like I do have a certain sympathy towards that because of this situation and other situations I've had in my life where family members have gone to prison and I've written them. And, you know, I'm not coming from a place of complete ignorance. I'm not coming from a place of complete like, oh, you go to jail, that means you're a bad person. My opinions are rooted in real life scenarios for me. So that is my disclaimer up front right away so you know where I'm coming from. All right, let's get into this episode. Johnna and Garret. We pick up where we left off in the last episode where Johnna has just picked up Garret from prison. They are in the car. The car has a camera. He is reaching over like he is so excited. He keeps on saying, my baby. He like is ready to get in where he might fit in. You know what I'm saying? He's ready to get home and get her done. So they're in the car talking. It's been about 30 minutes since he's been out of prison. And she starts to like point out places that are hiring and making little jokes and talking about like, you know, proposals, talking about him getting a job. And I'm just like, dag, it's only been 30 minutes, like, and she's already on it. And I see where she's coming from, but I feel like it's a little naive to be able to assume that someone who's been in prison for more than a year is going to be able to come out and just be like, hit the ground running. Like they have to get acclimated to the way things are now. Granted, Garret being in prison for 6 years, technology and whatnot hasn't changed that much, but I mean, you're still a little shell-shocked. You still have a little bit of PTSD and you still have to just get used to everything, especially when he went in, he was a teenager. It's a whole new world for him, and I felt that in the beginning she was putting a lot of pressure on him to get everything together. He mentioned getting involved in massage therapy because he said it's going to be very hard for him to find a job, and really he's going to have to go into business for himself because of the job situation, because not everyone's like super excited to hire an ex-con. But for whatever reason, for Johnna, that's not good enough. She doesn't want him to go into massage therapy because she doesn't want him touching other women. It's like, girl, at this point, support him. Support him through like whatever motions you're gonna need to go through, because I feel like it is gonna be a while before he's going to be able to settle into the fact that he is free, and so therefore needs to make better decisions, because I still think he's really young. Just be there for him right now, as you have been, which I don't want to judge her and say like she hasn't been there for him, but like, come on. It's not gonna happen in a day, you know? So what's on my lips is Cathedral by Kat Von D. Is part of her studded lipstick collection. MAC Chestnut Brown Liner lining it. So they get to the play house. She's trying to give him a tour. He's just basically trying to kick the cameras out so they can do the do. You know what I'm saying? She's like, look at this. You like your bed? And he's like, it's kind of girly, but whatever, it's cool. Like, I like a bed. I haven't been in a big bed like this in 6 years. You know, basically he's trying to like get it done. So then she's like, okay, I'm gonna go take a shower. So she goes into the bathroom to get into the shower, and then he follows her in the bathroom. He's so excited, and for whatever reason the audio is still on, and I am so grossed out. I mean, you don't hear anything, but it's still like, ugh, cameras, can you get, like, why didn't the WeTV production crew go home at that point? Like, what was the point of getting that like shower scene, and why did Johnna and Garret agree to it? Weird. During the confessional, she's like, it was quick. He's gonna have to build up his stamina. He was like, oh, it was great. So, they're gonna have to figure that out. So later on in their story, Johnna has a girls' night out with her homies, and he has a guy's night out with his friend. It's been a week since he's been out of prison, and so he has a little flip phone. She calls him a peasant, and is like, oh, you're such a peasant with your flip phone. Why don't you get an iPhone? It turns out that the reason why she really wants him to get an iPhone is because she wants to be able to track him, which I don't necessarily know is the worst thing. He did just get out of prison, and he does make questionable decisions. However, it is a little crazy, but I'm not mad at it. You know what I'm saying? I know where it's coming from. So she's sitting around the dinner table with her homies, and she's talking about how she's tracking him, and how excited it is for him to get back home, and how much she's waiting to be married, and waiting for him to propose because she feels like it should have been immediately. And then we have a confessional of her talking about the fact that all of her life, her mother has drilled into her head 1 carat solitaire diamond. That's what she expects from him, and she wants it to be a thin band with diamonds all around it. She's already got it planned out. I'm like, are you buying the ring for yourself and then gonna like make him make the payments, or what? Like, how are you gonna do this, Johnna? How are we working this out? He's with his homeboy, and Garret is explaining how he hasn't been out. Like, when he went into prison, he wasn't old enough to like go to a bar and have a drink. So he's like with his friend, they're at a bar, like, you know, people are coming up and talking to them, and I'm sure because cameras are on them, so the girls are probably like wondering what's going on. And Garret is very good looking, and his friend isn't too bad either, but Garret is very good looking. And you know, people are coming up to him talking, and he's just like, I haven't had the opportunity to interact with people. And I can 100% see that. Like, there is no reason for him to be a house mouse. I mean, he definitely needs to be careful, and he definitely needs to watch his P's and Q's, but I say, like, you know, he's got to spread his wings just a little bit. And I thought that this night out with his friend was probably an exciting time to do that. She was out with her friends, he was out with his friend, like, you know, cool. Apparently wasn't cool for Johnna. She got home and she was like out of her makeup, in her jammies, ponytail up by like 10:24 p.m. and he was still out with the homeboy. So she started text messaging him, asking him what's up, and he's just like, I'm out, I'm gonna come home soon. He had no plans on coming home soon because he was having a good time. I mean, he wasn't being rambunctious or anything. He wasn't drinking. He was just sitting there talking to his friend, and she kept blowing him up. The friend was like, oh, is she blowing you up? Like, why don't you just tell her that you're busy, or tell her that your phone died, or like whatever. She's just like, how stupid can you be to not know that I can read your I'm just like, pause. At this point, I'm starting to believe that Johnna thought, write this guy for 4 years, and he was gonna come out and be like her left hip, like be on her, be her, like, not even like partner or boyfriend, but be somebody who just was indebted to her or something. That's what it felt like. I don't know if it felt like that to you, but it felt like that to me. Like, he wasn't supposed to have a life. You know, he wasn't supposed to want to do anything but lay up with her all day. He finally gets home, and she has an attitude, and he's just like, I don't understand, like, why are you upset? I was just with my friend. And she's like, well, I thought I was gonna, you know, we were gonna be able to watch our shows together. Like, I thought that we were gonna be able to do X, Y, and Z together, and you really let me down. And I guess that this is not what you were wanting. I guess you don't want a long-term relationship. And I think it's because she's a very specific idea of what long-term committed relationship is. And maybe she should share that with him, because I'm definitely confused why she finds it odd that he wanted to like hang out with a friend he hasn't seen in 6 years, as opposed to sitting up in the couch in his PJs with her. Like, let the man live. You know what I'm saying? I was actually on his side. And in the previews, during the scene, he calls her a bitch. And so you think that, oh, he just came out and he's just being whoop-de-whoop, like rude to her and like da-da-da, body, just talking to her any kind of way. And then you watch it and you're like, oh, she totally deserves this because she's throwing everything back in his face. Like, I guess you don't want this life. I guess you can just move out then. Like, she is just being really, really mean and extra because he didn't come home at 10:30. And it's like, it's been a week. He didn't come home at 10:30, and you acting like this in the beginning is going to set a really bad precedent for him. It would make sense to me if she freaked out 2 months into this relationship and every single night he was out until 3 a.m. That is when you would freak out. But like at this point, like chill. It's just like so manipulative that I hate it. And I can see right through it because it's just making him upset. And of course, what does he do? Get up and leave. He leaves the house and she goes into her bedroom. And I don't know why she thought that conversation would end any other way but like that. So to me, Johnna is certifiable. Like, I am not on her side anymore. But you know, that can change. So anyways, that is that couple. Let's move on to Lizzie and Scott. It is now 3 weeks until Lizzie is going to be let out of prison. Scott is driving in his car and he's having a phone conversation with her in which he's telling her that they can turn the smaller bedroom into her personal closet. She's saying she cannot wait to decorate the house, her house. She cannot wait to come out and do that. And she's talking a mile a minute, girl. Just like, I can't wait to do this, I can't wait to do that. And like, just like very fanciful, like fairy tale type talking and behavior. They talk about the wedding and she's just like, I want to be a princess. I want to be like Cinderella. I want a big white dress, big white dress with a long 10-foot train. Okay, baby, that's what I want. And then I want white horses. I want a carriage and I want butterflies. How old are you, ma'am? And what fantasy world are you living in? Like, Scott has been a truck driver, and I tend to think that truck drivers make good money. He's been a truck driver for the last 30 years, and so he's just like spending all this money on her. He's on the phone with her in the car on the way to what we realize is a boutique to buy her clothes. He brings his friend Charlene, so Char is there. She's really skeptical about this whole situation. He's just there like picking out clothes, giving them to Char to hold, and she's just trying to get him to like really understand what he's getting himself into. And he just won't. He's just living in a fantasy too, where he just wants to give her whatever she wants, and he thinks that the reason why Char is upset about their relationship or thinks their relationship is fake is because Lizzie is like a 9.5 and he's just a 5. So he's thinking that Char's thinking that Lizzie is way out of, you know, Scott's league, and so therefore using him. Char is just like, no, I think you're about to make a fool of yourself, and I think she's just using you because she's just using you, you know? I don't think Char looks down on her friend Scott like that. I don't think she thinks all the negative things about him that he thinks about himself, you know what I'm saying? I think Char doesn't want to be judgy, but she is judgy, and she says that she knows it's none of her business, but she feels like that's her homie, that's her friend, and she wants to look out for him. At some point, he's just like giving her clothes, and she's just like, look, I'm not holding any more clothes, okay? You're not buying her any more clothes, like, just stop this. And they get to the register. He has spent $1,200. He has spent $1,200 in a boutique store buying this girl clothes. Char is like, keep that receipt because you probably are going to have to return it all. And my thing is like, absolutely. First of all, why didn't you go to Walmart? Why didn't you go to Target? Why didn't you go someplace where you can get a lot more clothes for $1,200? Go to Sears. Like, why is he going to a little boutique in whatever city he lives in where the clothes are probably more expensive and overpriced? Like, I'm just like, this is the wrong place. Like, if you're going to buy somebody straight out of prison clothes, buy them a couple outfits from Walmart, from Target, from Sears, you know, JCPenney's, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is Mervyn still around? You know what I'm saying? Like, so then another part of this story is that we go to Lizzie, where Lizzie again is being shot with like a camera, and she's like getting off of her bunk bed, and she's like doing, it's like, it's so crazy. She's not just sitting there talking to the camera. She's like in action. Her and her cellie have like plotted the whole situation out, how she's gonna be on the bunk bed talking to the camera like, hey guys, my name is Lizzie. And then she slides off the bunk bed. As you all know, I'm in jail for 8 years. Here is my Bible. My Bible is very worn because all I do is pray to Jesus. You know, it's very staged. So she shows her worn out Bible and talks about like she doesn't understand why she's here, what she did, because all she did was